So welcome to another playthrough video from theplayersaid.com. Today we're taking a look at a brand new game called Corregidor 1954, Return to the Rock. This is from Revolution Games, designed by Mike Ranella. He did a game called Last Battle Ieshima, and there's a playthrough of that I did, gosh, a few years ago now. This uses the same system. It was very enjoyable, good solo game. So I thought, pick this up, we'll do a similar type of thing. This one is so the other one was very solitaire friendly. The Japanese are quite passive. They don't do a ton of counter-attacking, and it's kind of obvious when they should. This one's a little bit less solitaire friendly, although I'm going to do it and it's going to be just fine. Only in the sense that the Japanese hidden units box means that the Japanese player is a bit more proactive in choosing where the units come out and appear onto the board. But other than that, there's no reason you can't make this a good solo game. You can see the map, it's divided up into areas. It's an area impulse activation type game. Each of the areas has this kind of circle in it. The top part is just an identification number. It goes 1 through 27, all the 27 areas on the board. And then underneath, you have this +2, +2, +1, +3. I think there's +4 over here as well. Those are terrain effect modifiers, the defensive values. And so the defense is going to add those to their die roll and defensive combats. On top of that, every area starts the game under Japanese control. So in theory, you can just not have the markers on and only place them when they get American control, but in this game I'm just going to have them out just for ease of reference as a mnemonic. The Japanese player starts with a bunch of fixed pillboxes. I think there's 8 of them, and that's it. And they have to go in the areas that have a +3 or a +4 defensive modifier in them. So it's kind of fixed, the setup is. I think it's every single one of those has a pillbox to start with. Everything else is in this hidden units box. The US has no units on the board, obviously. You're going to conduct an invasion. And you're going to do it with a seaborne invasion. And they're going to land here on Black Beach in Area 22. One at a time. So it's going to be, I don't know, some slow going. Might be some fighting going on. Then there will also be an airborne invasion as well. And this is the first thing we're going to do. There's actually, I divided them up into 2 lines here. There's a first wave. These are going to drop first impulse at turn 1. I think they're going to drop into topside in area 10. And then in a later impulse, we'll be able to drop a second wave as well. And then, again, you'll have a seaborne invasion going on at the same time. And then on February 17th, on turn 2, there's this follow-up force that can join in. And there's a number of things that you can do with them, but probably we're going to do a seaborne invasion with them as well. And that might seem odd, because if you look, these are paratroop units. Well, this first wave had surprise. They dropped, no big deal. The second wave took a lot of heat and a lot of Japanese fire as the Japanese reorganized for air defense. So I don't know. They might take some wounds and some eliminations on the second wave, and so the third wave effectively they're like, we'll just bring them in on the boats. Not going to worry about doing a drop. So that was pretty interesting that we get some freedom to do have some choice with that at least. The other things we've got on the map are some holding boxes and some tracks. So we have an eliminated units box. US units that are eliminated or removed from the game, those are going to be negative victory points at the end of the game. There's a victory point track, obviously. We have an impulse track, so there'll be a number of impulses within each turn. And as the impulses go up, as you do more things, you're going to roll a dice before each impulse. And on these results, the impulse is going to flip to a Japanese impulse, and you'll stop being able to do anything as the US player, for example. 7 turns long. There's a little sequence of play here. It's printed upside down, so you have a Japanese player sat on this side, an American player sat on that side. And it's got your little charts for the airdrops and the sea landing that you're going to be doing. And then there's these markers here, which are for bombardments. You can have a shore naval bombardment, some bombing runs, and then some modifiers for different leaders for the different units. They're color coordinated. And the Japanese player has some similar things with some mortar units they can drop, some suicide attacks they can do, and a couple of modifiers for their leaders. So that's how the game is. What we'll do is we'll kind of start with turn 1, which has a little skip of the reinforcement section, and starts with the day phase, and we'll get going. So let's begin with the first impulse of the first turn. And this one is, this impulse is scripted in the sense that the US player must perform an airdrop landing with all of these units and try and drop them into topside. To do that, basically we're just going to kind of put them all in. I'll do it one at a time, and then we just roll on our airborne drop table. And for this particular airdrop, we are +1 because we have what's called operational surprise. The Japanese were just entirely unprepared for our airdrops. There would be a negative if there were Japanese MG units in any adjacent areas. You know, they're laying down, kind of covering fire, trying to shoot you down, but because it's the start of the game, there's nothing like that. So we're going to roll a die, adding +1, and that's basically what's going to happen. We're either going to be spent or we're going to be fresh. We're not going to get any eliminated results because we're 1d6 +1. But subsequent waves, so these guys, and if we do decide to drop these guys, potentially could be eliminated before even hitting the ground. So let's just start. We'll start with this unit. We're going to roll a d6. So he rolls a 4, and on a 3 through 6, we're fresh. So that's good. We're just going to place him in topside. Then we're going to roll again for the next one, and he rolls a 6, so he's good. And then we're going to roll the next one. Another 6. I'm wasting all my 6s. Good gracious. But being fresh is good. It means we can defend well. So he's a 2. We rolled a 2 plus 1 is a 3. So we'll still be good. He's going to be fresh. So we got all these fresh units. We've got some special units here. We've got a couple of artillery-based units. We've got a 5, so he's good. And we'll roll one more for that other artillery. He's good. And then our engineer as well. And he rolls a 6, 7. So we came out of that unscathed, which is very nice. There's no enemy units in this. So there's no combats or mandatory combats or anything like that. And we're going to flip this to US control, and that's effectively the end of the impulse. So what we would then do is we're then going to basically just roll ourselves, because we move up an impulse. Now you have to declare what type of an impulse you're going to do. So you can either do kind of an assault impulse where you move and attack, or you can do a bombardment impulse where you do a naval bombardment or airstrikes, or you can just pass. And that's how a turn ends after both players pass consecutively. Then you move on to the next turn and kind of start again. What we're going to do, however, is we are going to declare another impulse. But before we do, we have to roll a die. We roll 1d6, and if we roll a 1, then we lose the momentum, is what it's called. So we roll the die, and I rolled a 6, so we're still good. We get to declare another impulse. So the first impulse that we're going to declare is, we are going to probably drop a... we're going to start landing these guys on the shore. So we'll start with these units. They're going to attempt to land, and we're going to once again roll on this, and we're going to roll here, and we rolled a 4, and so the 4 states that units move and we're fresh, so that's good. We can kind of sit right here. Now with the seaborne invasions, we can only move 1 unit per impulse. So that's the end of this impulse. We'll take control of this area because there's no Japanese units in it. The problem is this is very slow going. So what we would do is we'll move up here, And then we're going to roll a die. On a 1 or a 2, we're going to lose the initiative, or the momentum. We rolled a 4, so we're good. So then it's, you know, do I risk another landing before having done anything else? Or can this guy sit here and defend on his own? Well, I think what we'll do is we're going to do an assault impulse over here, I believe. So what you do is I'm going to activate this area, and so everyone in that area can then move out and attack if they have to or need to. So we're going to start taking some areas. So the first thing we'll do, gosh, our MG unit's not that strong. We're going to take, so we're going to take an artillery unit, we're going to take an engineer, and we're going to take an infantry unit with a machine gun as well. And we're going to do that because if we have 3 different unit types, so we've got artillery, engineer, and infantry, we get a +1 for combined arms, basically. So we definitely want to hang on to that. And the other thing we're going to do is we're going to try and spread out, I think. Maybe that was a mistake to move all these guys. Because what we want to do is we want to secure a perimeter around the drop zone, so when we bring in the second wave, they're not subject to MG fire, so they'll all land safely. Ideally, that's what we would do. So maybe let's try that. Let's move a guy out here. Let's move one out here. Maybe let's see. And then we start getting into. Well, I'll do it the long way, I think. So we're gonna do that. That's what we're gonna do. And we're going to flip control of all of these. And that's the end of that impulse. And then we're going to... see, that's cheeky. If we can link these guys up on the first turn, we're going to get a bonus victory point. So let's move up to the 4th impulse. And let's roll a die. And see, we rolled a 1. So we're not going to be able to get another US impulse, so we can't link up for that extra VP. It's going to flip down to a Japanese impulse. So now the Japanese have a chance to do some stuff. And they don't have all these units on the board. So what they're going to try and do is try and move units from their Japanese hidden units, launch some surprise attacks, try and infiltrate them onto the board. So to do that, they are going to basically do an infiltrate action. You can have as many units on here as you want in this box, and then you can basically infiltrate them into almost anywhere that you want. But they're going to become spent depending on what happens to them. So what we'll do is we'll start with which units. Because these have some... do you want to waste all your good guys early on or bring strong guys in? Gosh, it's hard to say. So we're going to bring in an... I feel like that's a mistake. And this is where this game gets agonizing. So we're going to bring in this guy. So I think it might be easier. Alright, we're going to bring him into this area, on top of this hill. We're going to make this a bristling defense point, right there. And that's all he can do. If he had moved into a contested area or a US controlled area, they would become spent. So he's going to move here. That's all they do on that first impulse. Then they're going to move, and they're going to roll, and they roll a 5, which means they're good to continue. So they're going to infiltrate another unit. Let's infiltrate into the hospital. I see. We're going to defend with our pillbox, so I don't need to waste a good unit there. So we'll bring on this guy, and we'll get into why that's important when we conduct some combat. They're going to move up and roll again, and they roll a 2, which means that the momentum is then over for them. So the momentum goes back to the US. Oh, good. We might still get this. So until both sides pass impulses, we'll stick where we are with regards to the turns. So we're going to continue back and forth doing things until we're both like, no, can't do any more. So we back to a US impulse. What are we going to do? Well, we definitely want to... Well, here's what we're going to do. We are going to land another unit for our first impulse. We're going to move along this shore invasion. Then we're going to roll a die. So we're still good. I feel like we need to clear this off before things progress any further. Because that's a pretty nasty... Okay. So we're going to move... We're going to activate this area for an assault impulse. You know what? We're not going to do that. We are going to initiate a bombardment impulse. And to do that, we're going to bring across our 13th Bomber Squad, or Squadron, I guess, and we are going to bombard these dudes. So to do that, we basically have 5 plus 2d6, and then we're going to compare it against the terrain effects modifier. So the attack factor is this guy. We can support him with adjacent artillery. So we're probably going to do that. So we've got 5, 6, plus 2d6. So that's not bad. And then we're going against a defensive value. 1 Japanese unit is defending. Oh, it's just the defensive value. Nice. So we're going against 2d6 plus 3. So we're 2d6 plus 6, where we're just going to roll it and see what we get. So the Americans rolled a 12, and the Japanese rolled a 9. So the difference between those two is 3. So they have to take 3 attrition points. And what that means is, I think we're going to flip over to our spent side. Artillery's kind of used up. So the difference between the total die rolls means that's how many attrition points you have to take. And attrition points are adjudicated by elimination of a fresh unit equals 3 attrition points. Elimination of a spent unit is 2 attrition points. Elimination, and then so it's 3 attrition points to pull this off the board. That would satisfy all the demands. It's 1 just to flip it, and then it would be 2 to remove it. So it's the equivalent. If I was to flip both of those, that's only 2 attrition points. And then I'd have to adjudicate another 1, so I'd be removing 1 anyway, so there's no point in doing that. So in this instance, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sacrifice the pillbox, because the pillbox has this little S on it, and all these S units, it's a bit easier for them to come back into the game. So the pillbox is going to be eliminated. We're going to leave this unit here. So that was 3 APs. Our bombardment was pretty decent. We killed a pillbox, which had a pretty significant defensive modifier. So that's our bombardment impulse. So we're going to move this up. We're going to roll a d6. And we got a 1, so it goes back to Japanese impulse. So for the Japanese impulse, we are going to bring more guys onto the board. Generally speaking, that's a lot of what we're going to be doing here, especially early in this game. I think we want to try and block these guys from linking up as much as possible. So I think we're going to bring in a strong unit here for the first impulse. And we're going to roll a d6. And we rolled a 2. Whew, so we're good. We can continue on. Let's also bring in a machine gun unit. And then we're going to roll again. We're good. Not sure I want to launch any attacks yet. So let's bring in another defensive unit here. I'm going to try and stymie this shore invasion at least. And we're up to Impulse 4. Let's see if we can get it to trigger. We cannot. So we're going to go back to the US Impulse. US Impulse. Yeah, that's pretty good for the Japanese, making a decent line of defense here. That's going to force the Americans to do some creative things and to force them into some combats. Okay, what do we think? What do we think? Let us. Well, I think we'd be remiss to not start taking some of these points more than anything. Ugh, gosh. So that's the thing with this game, is when you activate an area, that's what you can do for the impulse. So having a whole bunch of guys spread out means it's much harder for you to move a large force, because you spend a lot of time moving individual guys, but at the same time you have to take a lot of areas, so there's going to come a point where you have to do that. I don't know if I want to commit to that quite as soon as we're having to do that, though. This would be a 6 plus 2d6. Good gracious, that's a lot. I don't... Oof. Let's... Okay, we're gonna... First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna land another unit here. I think that's all we're gonna do. And then we're gonna move up to Impulse 2. And... Okay, let's bring in some tanks. Let's bring in some tanks. We're going to try and get our combined arms, and then we can make some big assaults here. So then we're going to move up to Impulse 3. We're good. So let's bring in our mechanized artillery. And then we're going to move up to Impulse 4. Come on. Nice. Okay, perfect. So we're going to do an assault impulse here. We're going to start moving inland. So we'd either be going up against a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 2d12 plus 9. Good gracious, that's a lot. Or, boy. Well, let's soften them up with the shore bombardments first. Let's do that. Yeah, let's not mess around here. So we're going to drop some shore bombardments in the... Let's do it in the high ground first. That's probably a mistake. So we're in 8 plus 2d6. So they're going to be a 4 plus 2d6. Feeling pretty good about that. So 5, 6, 7 plus 8. We got 15. And they've got 4 plus 4 is 8. So that's pretty nice. 5, 6, 7. So they've got to take 7 points worth, and there's just not enough units for them to do that. So they're going to take 3 attrition points here and 3 attrition points here. And so that's going to basically wipe them out. This is used up for the turn. So this is ripe for the picking if we can get another impulse to go off. So let's try. And we can't get it to go off. Okay, the Japanese were feeling a little bit... Well, frankly, we're going to have to bring out some more. We got this is worth 3 VPs. We got to defend this area as the Japanese. So we're going to infiltrate another guy there and see if we can't move along, which we can. And then we are going to Are we in a position to counterattack anywhere? Not massively. But I think we should start bringing in some units in this part of the island down here so we can start picking off some of these single units. So that was our impulse. And unfortunately the Japanese player loses the momentum. So it's going to go over to the US. Gosh, I think we just got to assault this place here, frankly. Just to do it. You see, this is the problem. We cannot assault this area with our armored units. This dark, thick border is a restricted area. They literally can't cross that because it's basically up a huge, tall mountain. So, forget that. We will be doing something else. We will probably end up... Gosh, that means we're going to have to send up all our infantry, isn't it? Well, I think we almost have to try. So, the Americans... we can't get the artillery and the tanks up the hill, and we don't have enough for any decent combined arms, necessarily. Oh, good gracious. What will we do? For sure we're going to land some more units, because I think that's important to get guys on the ground. Oh, I'm not sure. Maybe we should do an attack here instead. It just leaves us vulnerable to a counterattack. We do not have a lot of guys available, do we? Let us bring in... Oh, we just start fanning out. Let's do that. So we're going to... Well, we really need to link up. That's what we really, really need to do. So... Oh, and of course we can't do that. Fantastic. Let's move off the beach. We'll try and take Fort Mills. So to do that, we are going to bombard them first. Let's not mess around here. If we can remove a pillbox, that'd be great. So we're going to drop a 5 bombard on here. So again, it's 5 plus 2d6. And then we have the defensive value is 2d6 plus 3 for the terrain here. So we're going to roll those. And the Americans have an 11. And the Japanese have an 8. So we're looking at a difference of 3. So that's going to eliminate one of these units. So the question is... What do we do? This has a much higher defensive value for when they assault. And I don't know how much attacking in and out the Japanese are going to be doing. So I think we're going to lose the infantry unit to start with. Let's try that. Because if we try to walk in the Americans, it's going to be a 5, 6, 7, 8 plus 2d6. That's pretty nasty to go up against. So we'll try leaving the pillbox here this time. So then we'll go into the second impulse. We're going to roll a die. And we're good. So the US, let's march in. We're going to bring in artillery. We're going to bring in a tank. And we're going to bring in an infantry as well. So do we bring in another infantry? Yes, I think we should. Just as a body bag, I think. Just in case. I don't think we'll need it, but we'll do it to try. So we're going to lead with... We're going to lead with the armor unit. And that's how the attacks work. So you have to pick a lead attacking unit, and the defender's going to pick a lead defending unit, but they only have one, so that's what it's going to be. So we've got a 6. So it's 6, and we count all of our other fresh units. 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 9 total, plus 1 for our combined arms is 10, plus 1 for attacking as Americans during the day. Is 11. So I feel pretty good about that. We've got 11 plus a d6. That's a decent, that's a very good attack, right? The Japanese have 5 from their lead defender unit, plus 3 for the defensive terrain, plus a d6. So 11 plus a die roll. Oh, it was 9, 10, 11. Yes. So 11 plus 2d6, and we ended up with 18, and they've got 8 plus 2d6, 7, 15. So it was close in the end. It's only a difference of 3. So they're going to take the 3 losses, they're going to take it on the pillbox. Pillbox is gone, and this is going to flip to our control. So we're feeling pretty good about that. And all these units that attacked, I believe, we'll just double check, they get flipped to their spent side because they attacked. So their spent side, if you look, has this stripe on it just to denote that, and it loses its attack value and its movement value. They all have a defensive value, and the defensive values are much lower than their fresh ones typically. So all of those are going to get flipped. And so they're not going to be able to do another ground assault this turn, basically. So then we're going to move to another impulse for the Americans. We're going to roll a die to see what we can do. We rolled a 2, so unfortunately it flips to Japanese impulse. And cutting a line through here, not great for the Japanese, because it means we can swing around and two-prong this, we can link up for that victory point. But the Japanese, we're going to slink in some more units. We want to defend against another airborne invasion, so we're going to bring in some more MG units. So we're going to stick one down here in Crockett. So we've got an MG firing onto topside from here. That's going to help us out. And then we're going to move up to the next impulse. And we rolled a 3, so we're good. Let's bring in another one. We don't have a lot of options, though. So let's stick it in... We're going to stick it here. We're going to stick it in this area. I think we might bring another unit in there as well, or at least attempt to. And we're good, so let's do that. Let's bring another infantry, and we're going to kind of buff this area up. So we can maybe make a stand over here in this area. So then we'll move up to 4. And let's roll a die. We're good. So we get another Japanese impulse. Maybe we'll attempt to repulse topside and take it back. That sounds like it could be fun. So we're going to activate this area. We just brought these guys in, so let's do it. So we're going to... we've got 4 attack value. He's our lead attacking unit. We got 4 plus 1 for a fresh guy. We're going to commit a mortar as well. And we're going to do that because the mortar counts for our combined arms. So we've got 3 different types of units: infantry, MG, and mortar. So that's going to give us an extra +1 for combined arms as well. So we've got 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're a D6, 2d6 plus 7. And the Americans, we're only an artillery unit. So we are a D6 plus 2, plus 1 is 3. So this could be not great. Yeah, not great. So we both rolled a 5. So we had a 5, what do we say it was? 5, 4, 5, 6, 7. 5, 6, 7. So we got 7 plus 5. We've got 12 for the Japanese. 12 for the Japanese. And we've only got 5, 6, 7, 8. So we got a difference of 4, which means we're going to be eliminated. Not great. That's not what you want to see. And this area is going to go back to Japanese control. And our mortar unit is used up for the turn. And then we are going to move up to Impulse 5, see if we can't get lucky. We do not. So we're going to go back to a US Impulse. That doesn't feel good. And so this is where the activations becomes interesting. Because we've got these units are surrounded, but you can only activate one area. You can't bring everyone in one go. It's going to take a couple turns with some mandatory combats to do that. And things can get pretty risky and pretty hairy doing that. But we can't really leave those guys there without the airborne invasion getting all shot up. That's not what we want to see, so we're going to have to make something out of this real quick. So I think we're going to have to move down the hill and try to take those. Or maybe we can just try to land it anyway. Maybe that's what we should do. Just land in spite of that. That's probably a terrible idea, just generally speaking. Yeah, let's drop the second wave. Let's just do it. I think we need to get more units centrally to fend this off, because these guys are so slow moving off the beaches. I think that's kind of where we're at with that. So maybe I should have done that earlier as the Americans, but let's drop them all. We're going to drop all these units, and they have to once again drop it to topside. So let's do that. Yeah, they were +1. Oh, okay. We can't bring them all. When it's the second wave, it's only 1 per, so this is going to be a lot more slower going. So let's drop one of them. Oh, that's a terrible idea then. Okay. What are we going to do? We're gonna fight these guys out and then land them. We have to, right? So we've got engineer, artillery, and infantry gonna move in. We'll activate this area. Oh gosh! And what we'll do is we're gonna commit our commander. We're gonna commit Commander Erickson. He's gonna give us a +1. There's a chance he might die, but we'll do it. So the US, we're gonna lead with a 4. We've got 5, 6, 7, +1 for combined arms, so 8, +1 for being Americans during the day, 9. So Americans are at 9 plus 2d6. 7 and 9 is 16. And then the Japanese, we've got a 4, 5, 6. So they've got 6. And they rolled an 11 total. So we've got 16 to 11, difference of 5. So it's going to be, oh, that's not good for them. What we could do is we could do 1, 2, 3, 4. Man, that's the worst possible outcome for them. They're going to have to lose both of these units because you can't make change with any of this. I guess we could always, I think can we retreat one of them for the APs? Yeah, oh, we might. Is that so? If we go 1, 2, 3, 4. Nope, can't do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's no way. We have to eliminate them all. That's poor for the Japanese. It's very, very poor for the Japanese. There's no way to kind of get around that and fudge the numbers. And because these die rolls, just the actual die rolls were different, our commander survives. So he's going to go over, back on here. So we put him on the turn track. So he'll come back next turn. If they were killed, they get KIA. So we'll put him on the turn track. He's going to come back next turn. They don't have a used side like the other markers do. So we took that back. Feel pretty good about that. So we'll flip that back over to this side. We'll move to our second impulse. Oh, of course, which we don't get. So now the Japanese are going to get to go. And now they're going to try and take back topside barracks. This is probably not going very well for the Americans here. So let's bring in just one. Should I bring in just one unit? It'll be this is a wash. It's a total crapshoot. Screw it. Let's do it. We're going to bring in just one unit and we're going to roll the die. Maybe we should drop a mortar. No, we're just going to do a die roll and see what happens, I think. Ugh. I don't know. If I bring this guy in, it'll give us only +1. A +1 isn't that... If we bring in a guy, we do +1, we could get +2. And that would be +3 because you've got combined arms. Let's do that. That seems like overkill, but we'll do it. So we'll be... no. Yeah. Yeah. It's great. 1, 2, 3. Oh. Well, we needed to, that's for sure. Good gracious, I think we're tied up. So we have 12, 13, 14, 15 for the Americans. And then we have 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 for the Japanese as well. So that's bad, because when it's all tied up like that, it's effectively a stalemate. The attacker suffers a stalemate. There's no effect on the defender's units. All attacking units, including the lead, are flipped to their spent side. Now, the nice thing is they don't have to retreat. So we can sit here, which I think is what we will do, because that makes this area contested. It's still US controlled, but it's a contested area, which means it's much harder to kind of move in and out of now. So that's, I think, that's going to be where we're at with that. And let's see if they can't get another impulse to trigger as well. And they got a 2, so we're good. They are going to bring in... they could infiltrate more units into that area, but I think that's a little bit risky. So let's bring in some infantry units into this area. And we'll move up 1, roll again. Nope, they lose the impulse, so that's the momentum goes back to the US. And now the US are on something of a mop-up job. So the Americans probably need to organize some kind of a counterattack here. But this is getting a bit of a mess here. These all being used up. That is unfortunate, but it was necessary. I think cutting these in 2 is going to help us in the long run. So I think for our first impulse, we're going to reinforce this area, just in case of any counterattacks here off the beach. So what we'll do is we'll spend our first impulse just to drop, and we'll drop the MGs on the beach. They have a weaker... Well, I was gonna say they've got a weaker defensive value, but we could get into some combined arms. But I don't really have anyone else to bring at the moment, at least. So we'll save that, and we'll bring on the regular infantry. That's what we'll do with our first impulse. And over here we will roll a 1, fantastic. So it goes back to a Japanese impulse. And a Japanese, probably we're going to start pouring more troops out onto the board. This, we're going to go to 3, it'd be a 3, 4, 5. We're in a decent spot there in that this defensive force is going to force the hand of the Americans. So I don't know if we need to put more guys out there. I feel like that would be unnecessary at the moment. Them as a kind of a holding force is going to be enough, I hope. Let's bring out, okay, I think we'd be remiss not to bring, let's put someone in way. That way we're going to kind of block off this route to the victory points back here. So we're going to build this wall around here. So they're going to have to come through us, or the Americans have to swing around this way, but this is going to be some slow going. So then they're going to go to their second impulse, and we roll a 4, so we're good. Let's bring out, so let's reinforce this area. We'll bring out some troops into the power plant, and then we'll go up another impulse, and we rolled a 2, which means we're back to a US impulse. So the US, what are we going to do? Well, things are getting pretty hairy. We could try to take this. We'd be going up against a 7. And we don't really have any of these left that are any good anyway. So here's what we'll do. Let's do it. Here's what we're going to do. we are going to bring, we'd be 4, 5, 6 for being Americans. If we bring our commander, 7, and if we do a flame attack, 8. Oh, I think there have to be pillboxes present for that. Let me just double check. Yeah, well, we have to have pillboxes for the flamethrowers, otherwise Commander won't give them to us. So we will just bring, if we were to bring that, boy, it would be a wash. Well, I think no guts, no glory, because if we can take this, we'll be in a very good spot. So for this attack, we've got a lead unit is going to be 4 strength. We're going to add +1 for the additional unit, 5 strength. +1 for our leader is 6 strength. And +1 for being Americans during the day is 7 strength. 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're 2d6 plus 7. And the Japanese are going to be 4 plus 4 is 8. Oh, crap. Okay, well. So they're going to be 8 plus 2d6, we're going to be 7 plus 2d6. So probably not an advisable attack, but we're going to risk it anyway. And the risk, just about pays off here. Okay. So the Japanese rolled an 8. 8 and 8 is 16. And the Americans rolled a 10. Oh no. Did we mess it up that badly? 10, 14, 15, 16, 17? Wow. Did I? Wow, okay, well that's not great. Huh. That sucks for the Americans. So in an instance like this, if the attacker is lower than the defender has been repulsed. So the defenders sit where they are. The lead attacking unit is eliminated, and all of the remaining units are flipped to their spent side, and they have to retreat. Wow, that was not good. Huh. Well, that's unfortunate. So he's going to be eliminated, and these guys are going to have to return, and this leader goes onto the turn track, and he gets flipped over to his used side. That's important. And the defender's going to sit here on top of that hill, very proud of himself for his immense defense there. Great. Well, yikes for the Americans. I guess for their turn, that second impulse, I'll bring on the MG team just to help secure this area against counterattack then. And then we'll go up and we will get a 6. So we're going to probably land some more paratroops, I think. So let's drop in. We've got MG, and so we do have a pretty strong force there. Let's drop some more infantry units. And when we drop the infantry units, we have to roll that die. And the die is a 3. So a 3 through 6, and we're -1 for each fresh Japanese MG unit in or adjacent to Area 10. And you remember, I think we had... Oh, do we not have any? I thought we put some out. Oh, they used up here. Oh, we got very lucky. Very lucky indeed. Ooh, because this guy's not adjacent, so very lucky there. So we can land fresh, no big deal. And we'll move over 1 and roll for our impulse. So we're still on the impulse. So I think now, with a 5-6 defensive value, we can leave this airborne unit to defend, and we can send out these guys to go and do an attack somewhere. So maybe we should try to retake the topside barracks, because this is a fairly pitiful force. So let's try doing that. we're going to bring in these guys. It costs all their movement factors, basically. Oh, man. And this is a contested area, so you don't have to do an attack. If you're moving into an enemy-controlled area that's not contested, you have to do an attack. It's mandatory. If you're moving into an area that is already contested, you do not have to. So that's going to cost us basically all of our movement factors. Well, it costs, I think, 3 to move into it, which is effectively everything. We can't do a whole lot more there. And then we can attack that area if we want to. Oh, we can't. If you don't. Okay, so we could, because these units didn't start in this area, they can't attack. You kind of think of it like these guys are already engaged, kind of shooting each other, and this is a reinforcing force. They can't just charge over and attack these guys quite yet. So we'll move in, and then next turn we'll try to attack if we get an impulse here, which we do. So that was lucky. So now we'll do an attack with these guys. Now, when it's everyone in here like this, you don't have to activate or use everyone. We can't use him because he's spent. We will use all 3 of these, though, so we can get that combined arms. So we're going to start with 4 for the airborne, and we'll do 5, 6 for each supporting unit, 7 for being Americans, and 8 for combined arms. So we've got 2d6 plus 8, and then the Japanese are 3, 4, 5. I believe that's the case. No. They don't count. So you don't count spent defensive units. So it's just you pick a lead defending unit. So we have 2, 3, 4. So 2d6 plus 4 for the Japanese, 2d6 plus 8 for the Americans. And we crushed them. So we have 18 for the Americans and a measly, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's going to eliminate both of these units. And that's going to use up, I believe, all of our guys, because we were successful in that big attack, so we're going to be used up. So we're going to flip over to our spent side. So, even, we've still got a 3, 4, 5 defensive value if we defend with the airborne unit here, so that's okay. It's about as good as we're going to get, I think, if we can hold off some of these waves of Japanese attacks. Let's see if we get another impulse. We do not, so it's going to go to Japanese impulse. And the Japanese licking their wounds a little bit. They've got losses mounting up in the box here. So, what should we do? Frankly, with defensive values like this, it's almost worth just letting them come to us. Because these guys aren't going to activate till next turn. They're not going to get fresh again. So we know that this advance isn't coming yet. So maybe we should just strengthen this and bring more guys in. They're not going to be able to link up here. Not in reality. I mean, they could bring a couple guys through, but that's seemingly unlikely to be successful. This is a very pretty big stronghold. So I think we should bring in reinforcements. I think would be wise. So I think for the first impulse, we're going to bring in. Let's bring in okay, what we need to do. Here's what we need to do. We need to bring in an MG unit next to topside. And topside is here. That's a 2 and a 3. So let's bring the MG unit here so they can fire on incoming airborne units. I think that's a good plan. We should have done that earlier, probably. 5, and we're going to defend that MG unit with another infantry unit. And then we're going to place one more infantry unit. We're going to infiltrate them into... Let's reinforce down here. This is a very strong area. Let's reinforce this area. I think that's a good idea. And then we'll move here. And we stop getting impulses. So we're back to the US impulses. Fortunately, that was very good for the Japanese, where they were able to bring in, infiltrate a bunch of guys in. But I think we're in a bad spot as far as the US goes. So we're going to have to start doing, we got to get these guys on the board, frankly. So we're going to do some more landings. So let's try to bring in an MG unit. And we rolled a 5. It's 5 minus 1 is a 4. Minus 1 because that MG unit trying to shoot down the paras. But we're good, so they make it and they're fresh. That's excellent. So let's try and bring in the artillery as well. Oh, before we do that, we have to... So we get an impulse, and then we're going to roll to bring the artillery onto the board. Which we do not do successfully. That's a 1. Oh, good gracious. So 2 minus 1, this artillery unit's eliminated. That's very bad. So now we can't get our combined arms with them. And we'll move up an impulse, roll an impulse. We're good, so let's attempt to bring more airborne infantry down. And to do that, we're going to roll the d6. And we rolled a 6 minus 1 is a 5, so they're good. And we'll see if we get one last impulse here. We're good, we do get an impulse. And let's try to drop one more unit down. Oh, man. So we don't do that either. They're eliminated. That was pretty bad as far as the US goes. And I feel like the US was stretched quite thin at the moment. That's not great. I think what we might do now... so we'll go up an impulse and see where we're at this. If we even get a choice. Nope. So it's Japanese turns. And the Japanese, we're going to do some more infiltrations. I think we'd be remiss not to. I don't know if holding guys back is going to be worth it. We've taken a lot of losses, and whilst there's a lot of the game left, I think we've stymied up a lot, and the US forces are not in the best shape of all time. So I think we're doing okay. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Well, let's try... Okay. Let's try bring in someone in. Where to put them, though? And this is why I like playing these solo, because there's, you know, it's low counter density, but there's some very interesting choices to be made here as well. We could kind of put some a defensive line around here to put pressure on the beaches. Let's do that. Why not? Let's put this guy in here, and let's get an impulse going, which we do, and we'll put another one up here. And see if we get another impulse, which we do not. So we're back to the US impulses. Gosh, US in a pretty hairy spot, frankly. I think what they might do is they might try to take some ground, and who knows if that's a good idea or not. I feel like we're spread quite thin already. But we'll move this guy down here, so he'll take control of this area. And then we'll move across. And we get another impulse, so we'll pick up Crockett. Oh, yes. So we've got 4 movement points. It costs 2 to move into this area because there's a fresh MG unit next to it. So we take control of that, and then we'll move it costs us another 2 movement factors to move into this area there. So we can pick up a lot of ground. And then we've got to link up all the way around through to here. I believe that's going to give us a victory point. I believe that gives the Americans a victory point. Let me just check in the rules. Victory points. The American player receives 1 additional victory point if an American-controlled Area 10 can trace a path of American-controlled areas to an American-controlled Area 22 during the end phase of turn 1. So we have to keep those. So we might see the Japanese try to cut that after all that work we just did. So maybe we need to kind of eviscerate this force. Well, let's see if we get an impulse. We do not. Fantastic. Okay, great. So this is where the Japanese have a couple of options. So the Japanese can infiltrate a unit into this area and basically take control of it. Because it's American controlled, it's going to go to its flipped side. But that's... Or, well, we'll do this the easy way, I think. I think we're going to put the unit in this area. Then we're going to roll. Oh, they lose. They lose it. Oh, they were going to kind of just move this unit in here and just retake control. But they lose the impulse. So now the Americans have a chance to bolster with what little they have these areas. Oh, man. This is a tough one. I'm not sure. And that's why this route is kind of a bit easiest, because it's the shortest and easiest to defend. Oh, man. I think what we'll do is we'll move this guy. He's going to go 1, 2... Oh, it's just 1. Because there's no MG units adjacent to this area. He's going to go 1, 2. So that way... it's 1, 2, 3. So that way we've got a path from here to here, and we're occupying everything, so it's going to be a bit harder for the Japanese to kind of break that line. And that's probably a good spot for them as far as that goes. So let's see if we get another impulse. We don't. So the Japanese are going to... Again, I'm not sure if this is a mistake bringing everyone on the board, but I think we're going to do it. That way we make it as sticky for the Americans as possible. I do want to put someone in this area, I think. That way we're just protecting our strong pillboxes. We're keeping these areas a little bit safer with body bags against the bombardments. Let's see if we get another impulse. And when we do, so we'll bring in the last one, and I think we will put it... Alright, I think we're going to launch a counterattack is what we're going to do. Everything is extremely well defended, though. This would be a 3. Or it would be a 3 plus 1. 4, 5, 6. 5, 6, 7. So I think this is the best place to launch a counterattack against. 5, 6. It would be a wash, though. In fact, the Japanese would be at a disadvantage. And we all saw how that went when the Americans tried to assault Melinta Hill, so maybe we will hold off on that. Maybe we'll just put another unit on the hill to keep that well defended. I'm not sure if that's a mistake or not, so... we lose the impulse, but at this point I think the Americans are going to pass, so it goes back to the Japanese, and I think the Japanese are going to pass as well. Because I think everything is ever so slightly too risky in the long run, this early in the game, to do anything crazy. So what that means is we then go to a night turn, and the night turns function a little bit differently. So the night turns, basically, the Japanese player can attempt infiltration of American-occupied uncontested areas without initiating a mandatory combat attack. They can do kind of some banzai charges, things like that. But I'm not, and maybe that's why I should have held on some guys until nighttime. Because I could have, well, I guess we'll do that next turn. So I think we're gonna call that good. I don't think that we're gonna do anything in the night turn particularly. And they don't really have any assaults. We can't do any infiltration particularly. We could pass. So I think we're just gonna pass both of those, and so then we'll go to the reorganization phase. The Japanese player reorganizes their eliminated units, and then the American player does it. And so reorganization is about moving guys around, getting them all into some sort of fighting shape again based on losses that you've taken, things like that. So reorganization, what you can do is from your eliminated units, you can bring some back on the board, but you have to pay a cost to do that. You can select one eligible friendly unit in the eliminated units box, put it back on the map or in the hidden units box, but you have to remove an equivalent counter from the eliminated box permanently from the game. So I don't know what we have. So for example, we've got 2 of these infantry units for the Japanese in the eliminated units box. We can permanently kill one of them to bring one of them back into the hidden units box. We can do the same thing for these 2 infantry units. They see their equivalent, so we'll do that as well. And then we've got 2 MG units, so we're going to do the same. And I don't think we can do it for the MG units. No, we can, but it's a question of do I want to, because during reinforcements you can bring some more of these back in. So I think I'm going to hold off on these ones. During reinforcements you can roll a die and get some of these back without that tough penalty, so I think we're going to stick with just these 2 guys back. And the Americans can do the same thing. So we've got, yeah. So with these infantry units, we will eliminate one and bring one back. We're going to, what should we do? Who would be more important to bring back? I think, let's bring back this one. I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to eliminate that one, which that hurts us in the long run. That costs us some victory points. And it can be put into a friendly controlled area that contains at least 1 friendly unit, or we can put it in the seaborne invasion box. So we can just stick it on land. You kind of think of it as all these guys were kind of eliminated, but they weren't killed. They were just routed, scattered, disorganized, and took casualties. And then you reform them. So I think we'll stick them down here. I think that's a good, because I think we got to take this or make some headway. We've got to do something here. So I think that's where we're going to put them, at least. And we could do the same with these. But we're going to get reinforcements with those, so hopefully we won't have to lose those ones. So basically that's the end of that, and then we go to an end phase, and in the end phase you basically determine if anyone has automatic victory, which isn't the case. And then this kind of all gets reset. We're going to move up the turn track onto its day side. Flip all of our bombardment markers. So we're going to get all of this good firepower back for both sides. And then the leaders that are on the turn track, we get those back that we used. Okay, so US Impulse for... Oh, well, let's flip over our units back to their fresh side as well. Well, I think before we do, we're going to do our reinforcements as well. Yes, so everyone who was spent becomes fresh on both sides. These guys up here. And we killed the Japanese spent units. I think that was everyone. Okay, so then we do some reinforcements. So the Japanese player makes a die roll and halves the result, and up to that number of units with the S on them can come back into play. And it's the same thing. So we're gonna roll a 3, and we're gonna half that, round it up, and we got a 2. So we can get 2 of our units back, basically. And it can be pillboxes. They can come back as reinforcements. You kind of dig in earthworks, really, is what that is. Or the MG units. We don't really have anyone coming in from the air necessarily. We could drop these guys, but we're probably going to land them because of the MGs over here that are shooting us down. So the Japanese player is going to build at least one, I think, build a pillbox. That's always a good plan. And the pillboxes have to come back. They can come back anywhere. Initial placement has to be in a 3 or 4 terrain modifier area, but right, in reinforcements you can put them anywhere. So where would be a good place to put them? Has to be Japanese controlled. So I think we could stuff up this area even more, or we could stick one on this hill. That's probably a good plan. Why not? We'll stick one there, and we've got one other reinforcement to bring back. And we will bring back... do we do an MG unit? Yeah, because then we can get our combined arms going, and I think that's a good plan too. So let's... So we've got an MG unit there already. Let's put one down here. We might launch some attacks from the south of the island. So I think that's where we're at with those. Then the American's going to do the same thing. Half of 8's 4. We've only got 2 units, so we'll bring both these guys back. And the American ones are going to be placed in any American-controlled area. So, alright, where are we at? If we put one here, we'll get combined arms. That's nice. And we'll do the same thing down here for combined arms also. So I think that's where we're at with the reinforcements, and then we'll go to our day phase and start doing our impulses. So the US is gonna go first. Okay. Gosh, this is a tough spot, honestly. So I think what we'll do is let's do a bombardment on this area. So we're gonna do an air bombardment. We'll try and bomb these guys, and then we can move in. I don't know why I would do that though. I don't know why I would do that. Is the core of this game for me. Maybe if we... gosh. This is a +2. If we can take this area, that'll be a huge snub to their forces. Let's do it. We're going to bomb this pillbox. That's what we're going to do. As far as the bombardment goes. We'll do a bombardment, and then we will try and take out that pillbox. And we're not going to put any supporting fire from our adjacent artilleries. I don't want to waste them doing that. It contains... doesn't have more than 3 Japanese units. If there's more than 3 Japanese units, we'd get a +1 just because of target density. So we'll just drop that bomb. So we're going to be a 2d6 plus 5, and then they're going to get oh man, they're going to get just the terrain modifier. So they're going to be 2d6 plus 2. So let's roll and see what we can get out of this. So we've got 7 and a 7, and we have 12, and they have a 9. So 12 minus 9 is 3. They're going to have to take 3 attrition points, and it has to come from the lead defensive unit first. If we'd have done better, we could have taken out a few other units too, but that's where we're at with that. So that was pretty decent. That softens them up for when we charge, which is what we're going to do next. So we're going to roll our impulse, which we do get an impulse, and we're going to... I don't know if this is a mistake. So we're going to bring in all 3 of these guys. We're going to leave 1 defending unit there. Ooh, these guys, we have to move into our seaborne invasion box because it's February 17th. I forgot to do that. So these guys are going to move into this area and attack. So we're going to have our infantry as the lead, so they're 4, 5, 6, 7 for Americans, 8 for combined arms. So 8's pretty good. They're going to defend with a 5. So we have 18 versus 14, so they're going to take 4 losses. That's very good for us. So they're going to take 3 losses on this one, and then 4 losses by flipping that guy over. And that expends all of these guys. So this area is now contested. I suppose they could have flipped both and retreated both. Maybe that's what they should do. If they flip both and retreat both, that way we keep them on the board. Now let's do that. I think that's a better option. We can flip both of those, and then we can retreat both of those. So it's 1 to flip and 1 to retreat. We do that twice. That's 4. So that satisfies our attrition point requirements there. And then we'll move on to impulse number 3 and see if we get one. We do get another impulse. So maybe we should do an attack down here. They would be a 6, a 2d6 plus 6. And we could do 4, 5, 6, plus 1 for being Americans, 7, plus 1 for combined arms, 8, plus 1 from our leader, 9. 2d6 plus 9 versus 2d6 plus 6. Let's go for it. Oh, yikes. This one's close. So the Americans rolled a 5. 5 and 9's 14, and they have a 6. 6 and 6 is 12. So the difference is only 2. So what they're going to do here... same thing. They're going to flip, and they're going to retreat. So I think they're going to retreat to... They'll retreat up the hill. I think that's a good idea. Retreat up the hill. This is going to become an American-controlled area, and all of our units are spent, and our leader goes onto the turn track for the next day. Feel decent about that, I think. But I think what we'll do for our next impulse, if we get one, we do, we'll start landing some more units. And we'll try that again. We do not, so it goes to a Japanese impulse. And the Japanese impulse, good gracious, we're not in a great spot. If we were to charge down the hill, we'd be giving up victory points. Probably not a smart idea. That's a very strong point. we'll let the Americans wear themselves down trying to batter us, I think. And then, so this is I feel like a fairly soft underbelly that the Japanese could make some headway into. So I think what we'll do is we'll activate this area. So these two guys are going to move one. That would be a 7, 8. Gosh, no. And then we'll move up here. 2. And here for 3. He's got one more move point, but we're not going to spend it, I don't think. Just a kind of circle around here. I think that's not a terrible plan. Let's roll for an impulse. We don't get one. So back to the US. The US are going to land some more guys, I think. Let's land our engineers and see if we get another impulse. We do, so we'll land artillery and see if we get another impulse. We do not. So back to the Japanese. Okay. Top side looks like we could take it. So I think we're gonna try. I think that's a good plan. It's probably not, because we'll just get counterattacked. But again, that ties up American forces doing that, so they're not making progress into the victory point. So I think that's not a terrible use of our resources here. So we're gonna activate this area, bring these 2 units in. They have to attack. So it's 4 plus 1 is 5, and we'll drop a mortar as well, which does provide combined arms. So it's 4, 5, 6, 7. 2d6 plus 7 is pretty much as good as you're going to get with them. Maybe we could use our leader as well. I think 7's pretty decent. Let's do 7 because the Americans are only a 7 as well, because they're defending in daylight. Basically any day turn, the Americans are +1. So they're a 5, 6, 7. So it's a wash. Let's just roll it. Oh, and it doesn't come off. That's unfortunate. The Japanese fail by 1. So the lead unit is eliminated, and the rest of them have to retreat and are flipped. That's unfortunate. And we have to go back. That sucks. And they were here, I believe. Well, we gave it a good go, at least. That's not ideal. That's probably going to hurt the Japanese, probably, in a longer run here. And they do get another impulse, so I think they're going to infiltrate some reinforcements into this area just to maybe launch another attack later. And we get another impulse. Let's do... Because I think we could... If we bring in a guy here... Let's do that. We can start moving into these areas, try and cut the Americans apart maybe. See if we get a 4th impulse to see what we would do. So we do get an impulse. They are going to... Oh, I feel like the Japanese are going to get into a lot of passing here just to hold their ground to see what the Americans are going to do. Oh, I'm not convinced it's not a bad idea to try and reinforce this area. Maybe we should have done that earlier. Ugh. I think that's what we're going to do, though. I guess we could move some guys around back here, maybe? I'm not sure we're in that much of desperate need, though. I guess we could give up this area. He can't... MG can't move. So I don't want to leave him... Well, we'll leave him exposed. If he dies, we'll get him back next turn. That's very risky. So he's got 4 movement points. 1, 2... 3... So I think we'll... Oh, gosh. Yeah, I'm not... that's at 6 right now. That's pretty nice. So maybe we should sit here. We can get ourselves a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's a good defensive value. We're going to sit there. We're going to just get bombed, but I think that's not a terrible way to go about doing that. So I think that's what the Japanese are going to do for that impulse. And they lose their impulse. So now we're going to the US. And the US are going to... What are they going to do? What are they going to do? I think they're going to do an attack. I'm feeling like I'm goaded into taking this because it's worth so many victory points, but I'm not sure that I shouldn't wait until later on in the game to do it. But it's hard to say. It's really hard to say what I should do. This has a lot of guys in it. Oh, we're gonna bomb that area. Oops, my bad. Okay. We're gonna do a naval bombardment. Nice and easy. So we'll do a naval bombardment here because I think we're gonna get some good modifiers. So basically, I'm gonna pick a lead defending unit, and it's gonna be these chubs. So I'm aiming for, like, you know, company HQ kind of thing. So those ones have to take the first loss, and if I can wound a bunch of other guys as well, that'd be fantastic. So I'm going to roll 2d6 plus 8, and the Japanese are rolling 2d6 plus 2 for the terrain. That's all it is. Okay, so let's roll those. Okay. So I've got a 7, so the Americans rolled a 15, and the Japanese rolled a 9. So the difference is 6. So that's pretty significant. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's unfair. I think we're gonna have to take some. We're gonna have to take some losses. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 4, 5. 6. If I retreat all of these guys, then this leaves this very much softened up. But where to put these guys? Let's put them back here, where they're a little bit more protected, maybe. So that's softened them up significantly. I feel a lot better about that now. So let's go to a US impulse here, see if we get one, which we do. So now, I think what we'll do is we'll charge this. We could move in. Oh boy, decisions. These are not spent. So to move into this area, it costs us. It has spent 3 movement points. So we could go 1. We could move in that way. So let's do that. So we will bring engineers, artillery, and these units. So we're going to go. This costs 1 movement point, and this costs 3. They each have 4, so that's all of our movement points. And we have to do a mandatory attack. So they have a defensive value of 4, and we have an attack value of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 to 4, that's pretty good. Not with that roll, it's not. Wow. Okay, so the Americans end up with a 10. And the Japanese end up 9 with 13. And so in this instance, the attackers entirely repulsed. So the lead attacking unit is eliminated, which is this guy, and everyone else is spent and has to go back here. So good on the Japanese defenders. They've done a good job defending that. That's, again, it just slows down the Americans. That's a pretty poor result for them. Yikes. Did I put that? Yes. Okay. Well, let's see if we get another impulse, I guess. Which we do. Yikes, that's not good. I don't necessarily want to divert too many forces away, though. That's my quandary. So let's bring in some reinforcements. See if we get another impulse. We do. So I feel a little bit better about that. You know, as soon as we leave this area, they're going to charge down, and this is kind of a tough area to defend. Let's do a bombardment. And we'll bombard this area, I think. So we're going to bombard this guy. So we'll be 2d6 plus 5. Oh, nice. Nice. We rolled a 14, and they're 2d6 plus 2. Oh, they rolled a 14 as well. Oh, no. So, that's just... wow. Poor rolls from the Americans today. See if we lose our impulse. So now the Japanese are on the offensive, so to speak. Well, I feel like we could go and reinforce this area. 1, 2 from here. Just to make it a bit stickier. I hope, and that should dissuade the Americans from coming in this way. Kind of hangs these guys out to dry, but I think that's what they'll do. Don't have any units to move onto the board, and I think the holding action we're doing is not terrible. Especially with the way this combat went, I think that was a key strategic moment right there. And then what we'll do is we will go to the next impulse. And we're all a 4, so we're good. Gosh, I don't know how much more the Japanese are going to do, proactively speaking. I guess we could try and attack down the hill, because this guy would be a 3, 4, 5, and we could do a 4. But then that leaves us... And I think rolling a crapshoot like that is probably not sensible. Ugh. Those big stacks are nasty. Maybe we can attack here. Oh, we don't have anyone to attack with. Great. Yikes. Yikes, Japanese. What are we going to do? Well, this would be a 5. Yeah, I mean, this is monumental. You can't attack that. Not in good conscience, anyway. I think what we will do is we will... Ooh, this is risky. If we move this guy over here, then we could attack back here. I don't know to what end I would be doing that, though, really, other than to pick off these guys. But then it leaves me open to a pretty strong counterattack here, and then into some of these weaker VP areas. So I'm not convinced that's entirely sensible. Well, I don't have any bombardments left. So I think the Japanese might be at the point at which I think the Japanese are gonna pass. So we'll go to US impulse, and the US are going to do a beach landing, and then they're gonna roll, and they're gonna do another beach landing. So we'll get everyone off onto the beaches. That's not a bad idea. And, oh, do we get an impulse? No, we don't. So it goes back to the Japanese. And the Japanese are going to... gosh, it's hard to say what they're going to do, frankly, at this point. Because I think defending is not a bad idea. Yeah, and I think they're going to pass again, frankly. And the Americans are going to try to launch a couple of assaults here. I think that would be a not unrealistic thing to do. So, oh, we don't have any combined arms. That's bad. All right, great. So these 3 units are going to move into here. That's what they're going to do. Okay. And oh, okay. So we've got a 6, 7, 8, 9 for combined arms, 10 for being American. 17. And the Japanese have a 3, 4, 5. 5, and they rolled an 8. So they've got a 13. 17 to a 13 is going to kill this guy. So we're going to take control of this area. And that is going to use up all of our troops there. Then we will launch. So now we're going to start getting into some pretty significant attrition, because I don't think we can win this at the moment as things stand. We can give it a go. We would be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 with a leader. And they're going to be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I think that's a mistake. I think we need to spend some time next turn using our bombardments to soften them up, frankly. So we could go the other way and try and take this area. They'd be a 3, 4, 5. Maybe we could send a couple guys over to do that. 4. I'm not sure. Well, let's see if we even get an impulse. If we do, we're also going to go 1, 2, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4? Yes. 3, 4, 5. Oh, we can't get in there. Oh. So maybe we should do it. We should not go that way. We'll just go. This is 1.234 because there's a spent enemy unit. We can do that. We'll do this attack. So we'll be a 2d6 plus 4. There'll be 2d6 plus 3. Not great. We're good though. 5, 6, 7 plus 4 is 11. And there is 6 plus 3 is 9. So we'll eliminate this guy. So we take control of that. I'm just trying to secure our flanks a little bit here. Get some easy pickings. And we get another impulse. I think we have to be gutsy here and start doing some attacks from up top of the hill. So we've got 4, 5, 6. So where do we attack? What are we doing here? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Gosh, that's so much. So I think we're gonna go and take this area here. And we're going to leave the MGs and we're going to bring the engineers, because the MGs have a better defensive value in case of a counterattack, which is seemingly quite likely. Choices. So we've got 4, 5, 6, 7 for being Americans, 8 for combined arms. Let's bring in our leader for 9. So 2d6 plus 9, and they've got 2d6 plus 5. Oh, good gracious, 9. So we are a 15, and they are an 11 plus 5. They're a 16. So we are repulsed once again. That's terrible. This is going very poorly. Gosh. Yeah, that's really bad. That's really, really bad. Because now, if we lose the initiative, let's roll an impulse. which we do, we lose the initiative. The Japanese are now will counterattack. I think we'd be remiss not to. This is going to be our one chance to really do it. So we've got 4, 5, and they've got 3, 4, 5, 6 for being Americans. And then we're going to drop our mortar, so we get +1. So it's a total wash. So we're just looking at die rolls now, which, for what was there, that's pretty much the best we're going to get. Or we could wait, and this is where we get into the risk-taking. Do I have any MG units that are fresh around here? I don't think so. I think we lost them all, which is unfortunate. So I think if we were to bring in this unit and then roll an impulse... Oh no! Oh no! So they lose it. Oh no, that's a disaster for the Japanese. If they could have had an impulse, you launch the attack at your slightly better odds, but they've lost it. Oh no. That's the worst thing that could have happened for the Japanese in that instance, I think. So they would go 1, 2, 3, 4. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually swing some guys off of the beach to help defend. So he'll activate, he's got 4 movement points. He can go 1, 2, 3, 4. And he can do that because he's not, at no point was he ever adjacent to any fresh MG units. So now we're looking at a 5, 6, 7, 8 defensive value. The Japanese will never get in, which is unfortunate for them in that instance. That I think that could be a tipping point. So they've got, see if we get another American impulse. We do, just about. I feel like we should wait to do any more attacks down there. I'm not sure I'm comfortable launching any other ones in this particular instance. But maybe we'll do it, because we haven't learned our lesson. He's going to move into this area, and then we'll roll an impulse. So we do get an impulse, so we'll launch this attack. So we'll be 4, 5, and we can bring in 4, 5, 6, 7 for being Americans. 7 on a 5. Nice. We absolutely crushed it on that. So we've got a 19 against an 11. So this unit's going to be absolutely destroyed. And we'll take control of this area. Feel pretty good about that. That's I mean, as good as that could have gone, at least. It did not go well, but it's as good as it could have gone. Did we use this guy for this attack? I feel like we probably did, but... good gracious. Good gracious indeedy. I think... Let's see if we even get an impulse. We don't. So the Japanese... I think we've got to spread our lines out a little bit more here. So we're going to move this guy down here. We're kind of just shrinking our bubble here, not looking great. We might do some shore bombardments and have a mop-up unit pick up these areas later on in the game. Difficult to say, but I think that's what they're going to do. See if they get an impulse. They do. I think they're going to pass. I'm not sure how much more they should do. The Americans licking their wounds a little bit here. Not feel confident about that. We could launch an attack this way, which I also don't feel particularly confident about. That'd be a 5, and we would be a 4, 5, 6. Not yet. Not convinced about that. Not with my terrible luck. And that's kind of what we're looking at in all these areas here. So I think, and we did it again with the Japanese. They don't have any units to do any night infiltrations or anything like that. So I think the night turns, I probably need to pay better attention to those so we can use those more appropriately. Because I think the Americans probably This is me being a weakling. I probably should do something with those, but I'm not going to at the moment. I want to soften them up with my cannons and then move in. So I think I'm going to pass as the Americans. Japanese, probably going to pass as well, because our defensive line is not terrible at the moment. And then we go to night turn, at which the Japanese don't have anything to do that would be worth doing. So I think we're going to hold where we are at the moment at least, and go to the end turn. So turn 3, so we'll get these leaders back. Get our bombardment markers back. And it was an American impulse. We have that. Let's get these mortars back. Everyone becomes unspent. These guys. So the Japanese feeling a lot better about their forces now that they've all become unspent, basically. We feel a lot better about that. And the American forces. The nice thing is this blocking terrain means that this really strong armor and artillery can't go up the hill, so they can't really do anything to affect those, which is nice. Everyone's unspent, and we'll do our... good gracious, we got a lot of dead guys here. So all these S units, they can't be reorganized. We can bring back one of these 333 units. So we'll stick them in the hidden units box. The Americans can bring back one of these airborne units. And let's bring back... Does it matter? No, particularly. Let's bring back this one. Yeah, let's do that. So he's going to be eliminated for good. Not great. And then you'd go on to the new turn starts, and we do our reinforcements. So we always start with the Japanese. So they're going to get half a die roll. So they're going to get 5 units back, which is very, very nice. We always like that. So that's pretty much everything here. And we'll stick them all out into play. So, the hidden units, these guys the machine guns we're going to stick there, I think. Pillboxes wise, the problem is if I put a pillbox here, well, they get +1 when they bombard. So I think that's actually a mistake to do that. But we will definitely put one in this area. So there's 3 units there. This will that'll put us over 3. We don't want that. We'll stick one here for sure. And then where would be another good area? This isn't terrible. 2, 2, 2. They have to take this area. So let's stick one here. I'm not sure. That'll be fine. We'll do that. We'll call that good. And the Americans don't have anyone to bring back. They kept everyone on the board, generally speaking, in the last turn, so that's at least something. But yeah, that's the first 2 turns of what that looks like. Now you can see this is starting to become a significant amount of pressure. Now there's a good defensive wall here, but the bombardments over time are going to just weaken this, so the pushes will become more effective. This will get surrounded. We'll probably do 2 or 3 pushes on here, lose a lot of guys maybe, but at some point we'll kind of get this after we soften it up. But that's why I like to play these games solitaire, because it's pretty easy to make sensible strategic choices, although I drool over them and this game takes me a lot longer than it should. But it also is a half-decent 2-player game as well, but I love these games solo. This system, I love it for playing all solitaire. It's nice and small, low counter density, pushing stuff around. Really easy system. But that's kind of how this works. What I'll do is I'll